Please take a seat. Be my guest. I hate to eat dessert alone. It's an indulgence, and it somehow seems wrong to enjoy it on your own. Have some. It's the famous Hercule Poirot, isn't it? Oh, my mistake. Hercule, then. Well, either way, it's an honor. I've never met a celebrity before. No, I tell a lie. I once shared a bus with Ty Cobb, a ball player, Detroit. So, I hear you're one of the best detectives in the world. I stand corrected. The best detective in the world, then. Okay, let's cut to the chase. The name's Ratchet, and I'd like to offer you a job. You see, I'm on my way back from a business excursion. I am in antiques, rugs, and that sort of thing. Now, sometimes I buy things that aren't exactly originals, purely by accident, you understand? I'm still learning the trade. Now, I sold some dud rugs to some very nasty people, and they weren't exactly thrilled. They want their money back in a hurry and with a lot of interest, which is easier said than done. Okay, so I'll give you 10K right now to watch my back for a few days while I'm stuck on this train. A nice and easy job for you, and some peace of mind for me. What do you say? You decline? Look, I'm not joking around here, Poirot. I've been getting death threats, notes, and such saying that my time is up and that I'm not long for the world. Oh, I see. Not good enough for the famed Hercule Poirot. Beneath you? So you say no to my duty money, huh? Well, at least you enjoyed the dessert, right? Good night, Mr. Poirot.
And so, with this unpleasant business wrapped up, to bed. But alas, our sleep was to be disturbed. The next morning, the train awakes to murder. So, what else is there to do, mon ami, but call for a doctor and the greatest detective on earth, Mr. Hercule Poirot.
See here, but I think I may have found something. Yes, indeed. Yes, it is all very mysterious indeed. I, for one, am perplexed, but I have conducted my initial investigation, and I believe that I may have found some clues which will shed light on this mystery. I must say that I'm a bit nervous, so if I'm not thinking quite straight, I apologize. I'm nervous that this killer may be lurking amongst us. Now, to begin, let me put my candle down. I cannot show you these clues with one hand. Now, the first clue is this handkerchief here. Now, as you can see, it is crafted with excellent embroidery and stitching. Absolutely, this is an essential clue to discovering a murder. Now, I found another clue which I think may shed some light on this subject. This watch. As you can can see, this watch is stopped on 1:15. Now, I, for one, would bet that that indeed is the time of our murder. I am not, of course, sure of this, but if that's when it stopped, it must mean that is when it may have taken place. Now, I found another clue which I think may be of interest as well. Well, you see, this is a metal sort of scoop that we can use, or pick, to use to scoop out the pipe. It is a pipe cleaner, metal one. I saw my father smoking and using one of these so long ago. Now, it is very possible that our perpetrator has a pipe or is a pipe smoker. Something to consider. Now, there's something else that I found quite interesting. It is this conductor's pin. Standard issue, of course. My father was in the industry, and I know for a fact these brass pins cannot be given to any but officials. You can see here. Perhaps you can see a little bit closer there. Now, very interesting indeed. It does smell a bit of brandy as well, a bourbon. Perhaps a bit, something is wafting in the air there. No, that's something else to consider as well. Now, lastly, I seem to have found this parchment, which it's in some sort of coded language. I can't read it, but perhaps you could take a look and investigate it further and see if you can decipher this code. Now, that all said, this is not the only thing of interest. I would like to also show you this here. It looks a bit fresh here. Now you can see this wound is very fresh. The blood is still dripping, of course. And as a doctor, I can say that this is a sign that this was committed very, very recently. Blood coagulates and, of course, does not stay like this for very long, unless the death is very recent. Now, it is my official thought that whoever this killer is, they're still on this train somewhere. But you can't trust anybody here. It's a bunch of snakes, a den of vipers. But that all said, I hope these clues were of use to you. And may you solve this murder. Godspeed.
No. I do not think this note is intended to say Daisy Arms, but Daisy Armstrong. You remember the case of Daisy Armstrong, no?
The World News. Armstrong kidnapping. Lady and Colonel Armstrong's young daughter kidnapped at night from her crib. A nighttime abduction rocks the household and disturbs the nation. Soon after, a ransom letter demanding $100,000 for Daisy's safe return is unearthed. In desperation, the Armstrongs pay the ransom, but in a shocking twist of evil, little Daisy is found murdered in cold blood. Lady Armstrong, who was pregnant at the time, so destroyed by the shock, goes into premature labor. Neither mother nor daughter survive. Pressure for justice sees the household maid brought in for questioning, and ultimately charged for a crime she didn't commit. Before the true culprit is identified, the young May takes her own life in prison in a further cascade of injustice. The district attorney resigns in disgrace. The true criminal mastermind, a member of the crime organization known as the Mafia, Alafranco Cassetti, is ultimately charged with the crime. However, with inside help, this personification of evil evades justice with a shameful trial, which is beset with rumors of witness intimidation, jury bribery, and evidence tampering. The current whereabouts of Mr. Cassetti are unknown, but...
Okay. Relax, McQueen. Relax. He's just gonna ask a couple questions. Just take a couple deep breaths. Some of that can't hurt. Even if he smells it on you, he knows you're an alcoholic. You'll be fine. There. Okay. Okay. Just a couple questions. No big deal. Here he comes. Okay. Yeah. You can come in. Good evening, detective. What can I do for you? Sure. I'll answer anything you ask me as truthful as I can. Yeah, I kept Ratchet's schedule. I made sure that I arranged his travel. I took care of all the books. I have them if you would like to take a look. Sure. Well, there's been a murder on board. I'm sure everybody's a little nervous. Yeah. Well, I've been with them, a little less than a year, so I can't help but feel like there's somewhat of a target on my back, so... Sure. Inconsistencies with the books. Well, I'm sure I've made mistakes here and there, but... Okay, look. I know there's nothing getting by you, so I'll come clean with this. I was skimming money off the top, okay, but taking money from a criminal is no crime, I don't feel. It's dirty money, I didn't see the harm in taking money from a criminal. I mean, Ratchet he's not a good, he's a terrible man. I'm sure there's good men who do the same. But I'm no killer. I couldn't kill a man. No matter what. So, you gotta believe me. Sure, I've taken thousands, but let me ask you this: why would I kill my cash cow?
Please come in. Oh, no, gracias. No. I do not drink. Sin does not agree with me. Since it's well the devil finds his darlings. What can I help you with, Mr. Poirot? Sorry. So, what else would you like to ask me, Mr. Poirot? Yes, Poirot. Perdóneme. No. I do not think so. I do not believe so, sir. Mrs. Deverance couldn't have left the compartment without me noticing. I sleep very, very lightly. Yes. Any signs, and I will bolt upright. Yes. I was surprised once. Not again. Excuse me. My hands. Oh yes, my callous hands. Well, I do work in dangerous cities, and I cannot be governed by fear. So I train to fight. Oh yes, I do keep trusting on my God after the surprise, as you put it. But, in case he's busy. Yes, sí. You're right in that as well. You know a lot. Before being a missionary myself, I was a trained nurse, yes. But I did indeed change professions. Well, I owe it to God. There were more indulgent times in my life when I took more than I gave. Yes, I read about the Armstrong's case in the papers. I am, for one, glad that he has been punished. Well, sir, there are many sins, and one can do a lot of things to try to get their sins forgiven, but children are innocent. There are some things that cannot be forgiven. You said your role was to find justice. Well, sometimes the law of man is not enough. Yes, I did find my face 5 years ago. Why do you ask? Yes, I do excuse you. Have a good day.
Mr. Poirot. Of course. Well, you have my passport in your hand. I imagine you could divine it. But Mr. Henry Masterman. Yes, well, given the circumstances, I think I'm more than happy to dispense with such pleasantries. Yes. Yes. Well, nothing out of the usual. I ordered Mr. Ratchet's coffee, or should I say Mr. Cassetti. I can assure you now, if I knew the man's real identity, I certainly should not be in his employment. No. Well, not really. I think a valet should know virtually nothing about his employer. It keeps that level of professional separation, which I think is rather important. Yes. Anyway, as I say, I ordered Mr. Cassetti's coffee at around 8:45 p.m. Yes, he also likes to take coffee in the night time, but he also takes a sleeping draught to even it out, as he says. And then at 9 p.m. I took his coffee and his sleeping draught to his room. He takes it, I have it with me actually, he takes it very light. Mr. Ratchet liked to be in full control of his capacities, and so no more than a pinch. This whole thing would last a week at least. Only about 2 bottles of it, I think. You get some more on the journey. You can have it if you wish. I don't think there's anything you'll find with it perfectly innocent. Of course not. Anyone could have had access to that coffee. It stood there for a good 5 minutes, which I thought was personally very unacceptable. Yes, well, once I entered the room, Mr. Ratchet was in a very, very upset mood. He was most irate. He'd found a threatening note underneath his pillow. He asked me if I'd placed it there, which I thought was rather impertinent, and I told him if I was going to place something threatening under his pillow, it certainly wouldn't be a letter. Yes. And then I left. I assume he drank his coffee, took his draught, and then went to sleep. In the morning, I ordered another coffee for him, knocked on the door, no answer, which I thought was a little strange. He's usually up before I even get there. Knocked again, nothing. That's when you came out, and you informed me of the cold coming from under the door, and that I should go see the orderly as quick as possible. And well then, here we are. Yes, well, I wouldn't know anything about that. America, yes, once, a long time ago now. I only went to confirm a suspicion that I wouldn't like it. Yes, I was offered a job in Boston, of all places. I went across to visit, I saw Boston, and then I returned to London immediately. Yes, you are a rather perceptive man. It isn't. It's my thyroid. No, I don't take anything for it. The doctors used the word inoperable far too many times for my liking. Yes, it killed my father, but he had quite a few years on me. I thought I would have more time, if it were ever to come. A year, No, that's fine. If anything, I have found it quite liberating. It allows me to do what I want to do. In fact, I was going to quit my job when we arrived at Paris. I've always wanted to see Paris. Well, I've saw it once before, but that was during the war, and it was very different then. Yes, I did. Yes, I did serve as a batsman for a few years. That is where I gained most of my skills, and then I applied for some positions. I thought for a person in my station it would be an ideal opportunity. Well, you get the proximity to glamour, certain elements of travel and fine housing. Yes. Given the other alternatives, I thought it was a good option. Yes, well, if you have no more questions, feel free to come back and ask me anything you want. I have nothing to hide. Very good.
Mr. Poirot, I've been expecting you, though I can't imagine what took you so long. We have a lot to talk about. I know a thing or two about what's been happening on this train, and no one will listen to me. Is there someone who can... Anyway. Shh. There's no need to apologize for the delay, though I'm sure you want to, and I do appreciate it. But I am a very generous woman. Too generous, if you ask my first husband. He, just a moment. My first husband, he was vehemently opposed to giving so much as a penny of his hard-earned money to charity. Though, if we're being honest, me saying that he earned it is the real act of charity there. And then my second husband, well, I suppose I did overcorrect a bit there. He couldn't refuse an upturned hand. And then my third husband, well, by that point I was the one with all the money. Just a moment. You know what? No one's coming. I'll just do it myself. Just a moment, please. Just a little something to steady my nerves, as I have been trying to tell you. The murderer was in my compartment last night. I'd been fast asleep, having just drifted off again after giving that, what is she, that Swedish girl an aspirin, when suddenly, as I lay there, I could sense someone in the room with me. And then I heard him moving. I was so terrified I couldn't move an inch. Never mind open my eyes. But in one moment of incredible courage,
much. I reached for the bell and I began to ring it again and again, my eyes still squeezed shut, just ringing and ringing, and by the time someone finally showed up, the man was long gone. And yes, I'm certain it was a man. A woman knows the feel of a man in her, a boudoir. Is that how you say it, Mr. P? Well, at first I thought it was a thief come to take my jewelry, or Mr. Ratchet not taking no for an answer. Well, you saw the way he was looking at me earlier in the evening. Eyes running up and down so fast, I'm surprised they weren't gasping for breath. If your gaze lingers any longer, I'm going to have to start charging rent, I told him. I don't have any patience for that sort of thing. Not any longer. You know, I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but that man... How lucky we are to have you here, Inspector. What are the chances? Oh, I suppose I ought to give you this. It's a button. I found that at the foot of my bed on top of the bed sheets. The murderer must have dropped it. And then, well, I didn't realize this at the time, but he must have escaped into Mr. Ratchet's room. You see, after Mr. Ratchet's ghastly overtures toward me earlier in the evening, I made sure that the door between our two rooms was securely locked. And then after the kerfluffle with the man, I checked. Sure enough, the door was unlocked. Well, it only could have been done from my side of the door. Find the man who dropped that button, Mr. Poirot, and you'll find your murderer.
No name. You're lucky I know your handwriting. Battle of Lords, also known as very good. This resulted in okay, the same which is also known as good, and this now resides in perfect, very good, except no, that's not right. This is the improper use of the word. Yes. Please review your grammar and return it to me. Very good. Okay. Alright. Poirot, come in. No, it's fine. Just getting some work done. You made Mrs. Hubbard suffer cramped quarters. I see. You chose the best location to extract the truth from each of your suspects. You put her off balance, and you put me at ease. Very clever. Right, but you don't trust me yet, do you? We've only met before briefly on a boat. A pale mauve, by the way. Oh, well, Miss Orson told me that you asked her the colour of her dressing gown. I can't imagine why, but that's the colour of mine. You don't suspect her, do you? Do you suspect her? Oh, yes, apologies. Back to myself, of course. Ah.
No, I have no address at the present. I'm staying with my sister until my next employment settles. Is that all right? Of course. Here. Mary. Hermione. Feminine. Temporarily. Off. 52. Canary Street. London. You must really be struggling, Poirot, if you're asking for my handwriting. Left-handed, by the way. Where was I? Oh, I'm a boring witness, I'm afraid. I was in my bed, where I remained all night, except to hear about the crush. The dead man. Well, I didn't know who he was before, but of course I do now. And if he is who you say he is, I'm glad not to have known him. Apologies for being defensive. It's just that this method seems to be a waste of my time. Captain Arbuthnot? No, I did not know him for the boat to Istanbul. And no, I've never been to America. Oh, well, certainly not. There's no way that he could have done it. I don't know him very well, but being a governess, I have a knack for these sorts of things. Instinct. It's my job. I dare say I've stopped 1,000 fights from breaking out. Or pencils launched, or milk cups being cut before tumbling. I have reflexes for misbehaviour, you see, and they were not engaged. So you were eavesdropping on our conversation. To a man with a hammer, every problem is a nail. Two people can have a conversation about something other than evil, Poirot. I don't need to give you context. There's no laws against silence. I believe we're done here. Unanswered questions? Very well. I'll look over your list. Whose handkerchief did we find? Who dropped the pipe cleaner? Who wore the red kimono? Who was the man or woman masquerading in the uniform? Why do the hands of the watch point to 1:15? Was Ratchet truly murdered at that time? Or was it earlier? Or later? By one person or more? Which of them? Somewhere there must be an 11th question that you don't know yet to ask. That will give you the answer to the rest. I apologize, but there's nothing I know that could help you, Poirot. I wish you the best of luck in your investigation. Goodbye.
Ah, Detective. I have been expecting you. Intrusion cannot be helped. A murder has been committed. Certain actions must be performed, yes? That is all there is to it. Please, sit.
Forgive my appearance, Detective. One would think that growing up in one of the coldest places on earth would give me the disposition for cold. But alas, it has not.
Do you know when the engineers will be getting the heating back into the compartment? A pity. I must suffer a little longer.
I am traveling from Constantinople. I was a guest at the Austrian embassy. My maid, Fraulein Schmidt, was with me. My movements?
It's all very simple, to be honest. After dinner, I went to bed. God blessed me with a wonderful life, but cursed me with a bad back to make it miserable. So I called for the Fraulein around 1 o'clock. She massaged me, read to me a little.
Then I sleep. How long has Fraulein Schmidt been with me?
15 years.
Hubbard did speak to me, but I do not speak to Americans if it can be helped. Armstrong? Yes, I knew them well. They endured an unspeakable tragedy. I was an admirer of her mother,
Linda Arden, the Broadway actress. Such ugliness in this world, but she possessed a rare genius, a once-a-century talent.
We became friends. I insisted on it. Daisy was my goddaughter. She was... Miss Arden was to turn to directing.
She would have become the first woman titan of Broadway, but for the tragedy.
Dead? She may as well be. She no longer leaves her home, no longer speaks to anyone.
Yes, she had a younger sister, very young, a clumsy, how do you call it, tomboy, sent away to some sanatorium in New England. Behavior problems, as you can imagine.
Though I do not know how this relates to our current troubles, Detective.
Cassetti? Da signetiez-vous du chauffeur terme. I see. I admit I know the family man is dead. You must find the coincidence unbearable. I do not. They were an exquisite family. Yet no one from the Armstrong family here I recognize, though this man's face does remind me somewhat of Mrs. Armstrong's cook.
There is no need to speak to the Fraulein. She will be busy trying to make my sleeping compartment more comfortable. No, I can speak to her character. She is the opposite of chic, though her manners are impeccable. But she makes mistakes as a laundress that would drive anyone insane. But she is devoted. Now, if there are no further questions, My tea is getting as cold as I am. Желаю удачи, детектив.
I have been with the princess for 5 years now. I am very proud of this. We have traveled extensively. With Her Excellency, I have traveled to almost every continent. Oh, the first place she took me was Buenos Aires in Argentina, in South America. I was so terrified during the crossing, but Her Excellency has no patience for fear, and so I was compelled to be brave. When we arrived, I looked about me and felt a thrill to see everything so different. Since then, I have enjoyed traveling. Aber Ihre Exzellenz wird uns nicht verstehen. Sie spricht kein Deutsch. Ja, ich verstehe, aber ich habe keine Geheimnisse. Sehr gut. Lass uns weitermachen. Ja, wir sind viel gereist. Ja, nach Amerika, aber auch an vielen anderen Orten. Meine Lieblingsteil am Reisen. Naja, das muss sein, der Prinzessin helfen, überall zu finden, was sie gerne isst. In den meisten Dingen ist sie, wie Sie sie sehen, herrisch und anspruchsvoll. Aber wenn es um ihr Essen geht, ist sie komplett auf mich angewiesen. Sie ist sehr wählerisch, aber zu stolz und ungeduldig, um Einzelheiten zu geben, wie ihr Essen zubereitet werden soll. Obwohl sie den Eindruck eines eleganten, raffinierten Geschmacks bewahren will. Die Wahrheit ist, dass sie am liebsten einfache, herzhafte, gesunde Speisen mag, mit gerade genug Gewürzen, um sie interessant zu machen. Ich weiß das über sie und ich weiß genau, wie man bestellt, was ihr gefällt. Deshalb wird sie mich nie feuern, obwohl ich zugeben muss, dass ich nicht das beste Dienstmädchen bin. Ich gebe Ihnen ein paar Beispiele von unseren letzten Reisen. Ich mache immer Notizen. In Madrid bestellte ich ihr ein Gericht Paella. Die Basis war natürlich Reis und dieser wurde mit Zwiebeln, Knoblauch, Paprika, Olivenöl natürlich und dann eine Mischung aus Gemüse, Erbsen, Limebohnen, Spargel und Blumenkohl zubereitet. Und keine Paella wäre komplett, ohne die wichtigste Zutat großzügig zuzugeben. Safran. In Casablanca hat sie gegessen eine schöne Taine mit Gemüse. Es begann mit ein paar bescheidenen Zutaten, Kartoffeln, Karotten, Zwiebeln und Knoblauch. Aber eine gehäufte Portion gehackter, getrockneter Aprikosen sorgte für eine dezente Süße. Und zum Ausgleich würzige Tomaten und ein Spritzer Zitronensaft, der ganz zum Schluss hinzugefügt wird, um alles aufzuwecken. Es wurde mit Harissa gewürzt, einer Mischung aus 3 Chilisorten, zusammen mit Sumac, Kümmel, Fenchel und mehr. Einfach, herzhaft und sättigend. In Kairo bestellte ich ihr ein Gericht Koshari. Das sind gewürzte Linsen und Reis, kombiniert mit Kichererbsen und kleinen Nudeln. überzogen mit einer Tomatensauce mit Essig. Dann wird das Gericht mit herzhaften, knusprigen, dünnen Röstzwiebelringen belegt. Lecker. Nein, ich bin Dienstmädchen, kein Köchin. Warum würden Sie sagen, dass ich Köchin bin? Nein, nein. Ich weiß nur, wie die Prinzessin ihr Essen mag. Sie ist sehr speziell. Nein. Nein, das ist nicht mein Taschentuch. So was Schönes und Feines könnte ich mir nicht leisten. Naja, ich bin so nervös, Herr Poirot, weil ich letzte Nacht den Mörder gesehen habe. Ich sah ihn aus dem Zimmer rennen. Er war ein schmächtiger Mann, der einen Kimono trug. Nein, er war ein kleiner Mann und schnell.
Ah, yes. Well, please, please. Well, see. Oh. Very, very. No, it's great. It's great. Very, very nice. Very nice. It's all perfect. All perfect. Yes. Thank you very much. Very much. It's wonderful. What is the secret? What is the secret? Of course, no. Of course you cannot tell me. No, of course. Well, it's wonderful. All perfect. Yes. See? Oh, of course. Have you come to dinner with me? Please. I would love your company. You must ask for something. Are you sure? This is so very. It's wonderful. No. I understand. Of course, questions. Of course, you must make questions. No problem. Let's just go somewhere more private. Yeah, I would prefer if we go to my room. Is that alright? So let's go. Come on. Oh, it's a pleasure. Beniamino Marquez. Wonderful to have you over here. Wonderful to have you here with me. Alright, here we are. Listen. I want to be very, very clear about any associations with any crimes. Alright? So please ask me anything. I never lie anymore. Never. Not anymore. Yes, this is my room.
This is my room, which I share with a very unhappy English butler. I'm not very sure he likes me, or if he likes anyone. It is what it is. It is. Yes. Well, I didn't do anything. Really, I came back to my room with the butler, and I'm pretty sure he can, just tell you that I was sleeping all night until the morning. Nothing. No. Ah, my business, of course. It's automobiles. Yes, I have 3 showrooms in America. I've come to America with nothing. And now, I consider myself a very successful businessman. Yes, I'm very proud. I'm proud. As I told you, I've come to America with nothing. I escaped prison, and then I had to bribe my way into the US, where I swore never to lie again. Never to lie again. You see why, my friend? Because when people trust you, they buy more. It's good for the business. And I love selling cars. I love cars. I love them. I love the cars. The speed, the curves, the design, all of it. So beautiful. Do you like cars? I have... Wait a second. I have something here which you're going to love. One more. Oh, here. Let me just... You see, this one is for my children. I bought one for every single one of them. This one is for my oldest. He collects cars. He collects cars as I do. I see. Oh, let me just show you some of the details, and you can inspect. Yes, over here. Oh, what are you looking for? I'm sure you cannot hide a gun or a knife inside of this. No way. There's no way. No way. It's completely harmless. It's harmless. So you see, detective, my children, they have very good taste, just like his father. I have. Let me show you some pictures of my children. See here. So it's all a mess because, when the train had the problem, everything just flew everywhere, and I had to put everything back into my luggage very quickly. So, but here's a photo of my youngest. So beautiful. And my little girl, and strange, I don't know. Maybe I lost it. No. I don't remember saying anything about being a chauffeur. No, chauffeur? Ah, you found a picture. Alright. Alright. Yes. This is my boy wearing a chauffeur hat. It was my chauffeur hat. Yes. I drove for many people. I did. I started in America as a driver, as a chauffeur. But with a lot of hard work and, bright ideas, I started my own business. So, no, I'm not lying to you. No, you must understand, all of us, every man has a lot of things that they would prefer to live in the past. And this is one of them. No. I'm very sure you understand. I cannot tell you. I cannot. You know why? Because I'm a respectful businessman. If my client, they find out that I've been telling details about my clients, then what? Then what? It would be a nightmare for business. I cannot. I'm sorry, detective. But you know what I can tell you? I can tell you a little story. I'll tell you a little story. Let me just thank you for finding the photo of my boy. Now I have all of them over here. My two beautiful boys and my beautiful girl. Alright. So I'm going to tell you a little story. There was once this very, very young boy. Very handsome boy. And his name was Beniamino. I know, it's what a coincidence, right? Yeah, and he was very handsome. And, you know, the family of the boy didn't have the money to buy everything that was necessary. So the boy had to learn how to get the things he needed in other ways, you know. So he stole a lot of things, you know, but to survive. The boy grew up and he learned there was different ways he could, you know, make his life. And he became a new man. A very new man, very handsome, grown-up man, owner of his own business. Yes, successful in America. So you see, I chose a new way of life. I never lie anymore. And these are the reasons I would not commit this crime, this murder. I have 3 beautiful children that depend on me. So if that doesn't prove my innocence, I don't know what will. You know? Thank you. They are very beautiful, right? They are. Do you have children? Well, detective, I hope I was able to help you in some way. I really hope you find the murder. I was going to wish you luck, but I heard you're the #1 detective in the world, so you do not need my good wishes. So I'm very, very sure you are going to find the murder. Of course you are. And then I will be safe and ready to go back home to my beautiful children. Yes.
Pleased to meet you. Excuse me. Of course, I've nothing to hide. Ask me anything you wish. At the University of Vienna, I specialize in ethics and philosophy. I'm on the way to a conference. What interest would I have in this man? There is no reason for me to be interested in killing this man. He was a stranger to me. And even if I did care to kill him, I should like to think I would not do it on a train where escape is impossible, surrounded by dozens of witnesses
and accompanied by the greatest detective in the world. Poirot, I really do appreciate what you're trying to do here, I do. But this man was a criminal, was he not? Why should we waste our time on this? The law distances us from the complexity of ethics, from needing to think. If you steal, you will go to jail. If a poor person steals to feed himself, then the law may or may not be more lenient. But the law does not ask itself why they are poor, why the poor exist. Is it not linked intrinsically to our system of justice? The poor are much more likely to commit a crime, are they not? Please, indulge me, Mr. Poirot, if you will, and we shall play the trolley problem through. A train heads towards 5 workers. I realize death involving trains may be in a little bad taste, given the current circumstances, but let us continue regardless. You cannot stop the train, but you can turn it, so it goes into another line and kills only 1 vodka. What would you do? Would you pull the lever? Good. Most people would choose that. Now, say instead of turning the wheel, you are on a bridge, much like this one, and all you need to do is push the person in front of you off, and it will stop the train and save those 5 people. Would you do it? Would you? No, exactly. Won't you know why? Because you are a hypocrite. To follow the law, regardless of ethics, is worse than having no laws. As Plato said, good people do not need laws to act ethically, while bad people will find a way around the laws. Boy, you are better than I thought. You're right. I based it off a shopkeeper I knew who was a philosopher before he emigrated. I enjoyed having those types of debates with him. How did you know? Okay, well, I'm a Pinkerton hired by Ratchet to keep an eye on him. Really, dropped the ball there, though. Okay, yeah. I don't know how you worked that one out, though. What makes me such an obvious policeman? Well, you are half right. I used to be, but I really am a Pinkerton now. And with that, I shall exercise my right to remain silent, if you don't mind.
was just preparing some medication for my headache. I'm afraid I don't fare very well on trains. I can't quite get my bearings, you see. I believe it's because we're constantly moving, never quite staying still. And the light, I can hardly bear it. Usually I'm only awake during the night. The day I sleep away. Some fear the darkness, but I cannot stand the light. You will forgive me if I seem a little distant. This is very difficult for me. You have questions, of course, of course. No, monsieur, I've never been to America. Yes, my husband. He is an ambassador, and he was posted there. But that was 5 years ago, and we've only been married for 1 year. It was before I met him. I would love to travel to America one day. The next time I travel, perhaps it will be by boat. Eleanor, yes, that's correct. You do have my passport in front of you. The smudge. The result of a careless official, I'm sure. It's always been that way. I don't recall it ever being mentioned before. Why would you have me write down my name? You are the detective. Very well. As you wish. My name as it appears on my passport. What's this? A handkerchief. No, recognize it. It's very beautiful, but it is not mine. Please forgive me, Monsieur Poirot. I'm not very well. You know, I've always felt my life was like a dream or a poem. Have you ever felt that way, Monsieur Poirot? Wandering through the days, somewhere between darkness and light. Between dreams and being awake. Do you like poetry, monsieur? Oh, you do. I don't think there's anything quite like it. It makes me feel understood. Are you familiar with Mikhail Lermontov? Could I read you one of his works? The sail is beautiful. Amid the blue haze of the ocean, a sail is passing, white and frail. What do you seek in a far country? What have you left at home, lone sail? The billows play, the breezes whistle, and rhythmically creaks the mast. Alas, you seek no happy future, nor do you flee a happy past. Below the mirrored azure brightens, above the golden rays increase. But you, wild rover, brave a tempest, as if in tempests there were peace. Quite beautiful, isn't it? I apologize, monsieur, but I simply must get some rest now. I'm very tired. I'm sorry I could not be more help. Bonne nuit, Monsieur Poirot.
didn't actually expect that you'd be visiting me this soon. Doubt that I should be a suspect at all, honestly. Do you have any leads? Have you come across any discernible ideas? Or are you still pondering around in that head of yours? For the record, I wanted to ask something a little off-key. Off the record, of course. Do you think that, by some sort, Ratchet might have deserved it? We all know what kind of man he was. And well, where I'm from, men like that just don't survive. You see, on the battlefield, many years ago, there's a lot to be told. Stories from that age. See, war is the continuation of politics by other means. It was von Clausewitz who said that, and if you've never read him, you definitely should. In many ways, war is also, well, not too different from murder, and so cannot murder be the continuation of justice by other means if the circumstances align? This law so different. 12 people on a jury decide whether or not a man is to be executed. And these people could be, by random chance, all unexposed murderers. And what if they decide to acquit a guilty man? Is that justice to you? There are 12 of us on this train. I used to serve with a fellow, good chap, went by the name of Red. Incredibly brave. He saved hundreds of lives, and those are the ones that you could count. I could never understand how he remained so cheerful throughout it all. See, the stories of war told by those who have suffered, you sort of have this hardening thoughts, outlook on life all seemed to fade, but not for Red. He had been mentioned in dispatches several times and had numerous commendations, medals, all the splendor that a soldier could really ask for. One time, I remember, I got a young rebel. Looked like he was a teenager, carrying arms across a blockade, and he looked me right in the eye, and he ran for it. And for some reason, I just couldn't bring myself to shoot him. And I should have. I knew those arms were for the other side, and honestly, it would have saved so many lives if I had, so am I not a murderer? Just because you see nothing tangible, no actual effects, you don't really feel the weight of your actions, doesn't mean you're innocent. Well, I was unlucky enough to see something tangible. The boy must have done a second supply run, maybe this time with a few others, because a few days later we found him dead. Yeah, we found him dead, alongside Red and his partner. You see, I caused those deaths, and yet the law is not a bit interested. And so I not the least bit interested in the law.
Bon, Madame et Monsieur. Monsieur Cassetti lies dead, and Poirot once more again has been asked to unpick the details of a most confounding journey. A train of suspects, a room full of clues, testimonies full of inconsistencies. There are two possible solutions to this most confusing set of affairs. The first is simply this. An unknown assassin crept aboard the train, dressed as a conductor and with a conductor's key in tow, hidden from our sight. Then, at the fall of night, he entered into Mrs. Harbert's room, made his way into Cassetti's room, stabbed him to death. Then, having finished his gruesome task, takes a drink of bourbon to steady his nerves, discards the train conductor's uniform, swaps this for his own clothing, and covers himself with a kimono. There are many issues with this story, issues perhaps that would have melted away if this drift of snow did not stop us in its tracks. So what other solutions are there? Everywhere I look, I see Daisy Armstrong. From the burnt paper that was found in Cassetti's room, and the echoes of the crime that he committed. Motive. Motive is all. What would anyone gain from the murder of a murderer? Maybe this is what some would call justice, no? This is not justice. And yet I find no other alternative motive. And so, could it be the Countess Andre? Elena? Or should I say, Helena? Yes, this much on your passport, an attempt to conceal your identity. You being the sister of Sonia Armstrong, niece to Daisy. Surely, the H handkerchief is yours, n'est-ce pas? Or could it be the self-confessed grandmother of Daisy decided justice needed a helping hand? Hildegard, did you accompany your princess to Cassetti's room, take this man's life in exchange for your handkerchief, and then concoct a fanciful story of a kimono-wearing assassin? If I remember correctly, the Armstrongs had a cook from Germany. Or you. It might be our successful friend, Marquette, a man who started his life as a chauffeur and then was given a loan due to his intelligence and sound business planning. Is it not possible that this loan could have originated from none other than Colonel Armstrong himself? The dates line up precisely. And yet, I see more links to the Armstrongs. McQueen, your father, whose career was destroyed by this case against the innocent maid, forcing down a path to criminality, making a living from the leftovers of a murderer. So incensed by this, you decided to take everything you had, store it upon the train, kill your employer in a stroke of double compensation. Greta. If I remember correctly, the child's nurse slept through the kidnapping, having had too much wine that night. And now you, having found faith at the exact same time as the kidnapping, meanwhile having given up alcohol for good. Children are innocents, n'est-ce pas? And so who would begrudge the death of such a man? Masterman, I feel the finesse of a butler is missing in you. You have the demeanor of a military man. I remember hearing how often high-ranking officers would employ their batsman. as a full-time butler after their service. Yes, well, I have nothing to hide. You don't have to use your magic on me. I was the Armstrongs' batsman during the war, and then I followed him into service in New York. Never have I met a finer man. Mary, the governess of Daisy, engaged to Captain Arbuthnot, who himself also was good friends with Colonel Armstrong. Yes, a fine man known for his honor. How could two such wounded parties start their life together, with this hanging over their heads? The good doctor, Constantine, personal physician to the Armstrongs. Were you there at Daisy's birth? But even you could not heal what had been done to this family. But let us not forget the poor maid who was forced into the grave by false evidence and testimony. Could she have fallen in love with a policeman investigating the kidnapping? Perhaps, just perhaps, their relationship and her death could push a man dedicated to the rule of law to betray that which he swore dear. And finally, that leaves you, Mrs. Abbott. Only an actress of fine skill could hope to deceive the authorities with their fiction of how a murder came to be. An actress like the mother of Sonia and the grandmother of Daisy.
Stop. It was me. I orchestrated everything. I pulled everyone together. You speak of justice, monsieur. We all learned, in the most devastating way possible, not to confuse justice with law. Justice is an ideal. The law is just a tool, and it's a broken one. How could we let a man like that go free? Let them all go. I'll confess to everything. I'm already dead anyway. Cassetti killed me the moment he destroyed my family.
I say this murder was not committed by any one person, but by everyone in this room. You all acted as jurors in this kangaroo court. A grave affront to society. And each of you stabbed this man to death in the name of justice. The wounds as inconsistent as your sense of honor. Silence. All of you are guilty. It is hard for me to accept this, but slowly, too late perhaps, that I discover in my old age that the weight of justice is not so easily balanced. What I have witnessed is the fracture of the human soul. There is no justice here today. But there are also no murderers here today either. And with this you have forced me to accept the first solution. And I will have to live with that decision, a crippling weight I must bear of the choice I have made. A weight we must all bear equally.